Have you ever been at a big dinner, maybe Thanksgiving or a family gathering, and that delicious bowl of mashed potatoes is just out of reach? Your arm starts to twitch, you do that little half-stand lean-in thing, and then you hear your mum's voice in your head. Don't reach across the table. But have you ever wondered why that's such a big deal? Why is reaching for the salt shaker like committing a social crime? Well, the story behind this simple rule is actually way more dramatic and interesting than you might think. It's a tale of status, swords, and sanitation. Let's rewind the clock, way back to the Middle Ages. Picture a grand medieval banquet. Long wooden tables, no individual plates, and definitely no forks. People ate with their hands, a knife, and maybe a spoon. It was chaotic. Food was often served on large shared platters called trenchers, which were basically big slabs of stale bread. To get your share, you had to get in there. Reaching wasn't just common, it was necessary. But here's the catch. Medieval halls were not the friendliest places. Most men, especially nobles and knights, carried daggers or short swords with them at all times. So, when you reached across the table, you weren't just extending your arm, you were potentially brandishing a weapon, even unintentionally, in someone else's personal space. A sudden lunge for a piece of meat could easily be misinterpreted as an aggressive move, a threat. Imagine leaning over and your sleeve accidentally knocking over someone's goblet. In a tense environment, that could be the spark that ignites a full-blown brawl. To keep the peace and prevent dinners from turning into duels, an unwritten rule started to form: keep your hands and your weapons to yourself. Asking someone to pass the food was a sign of trust and respect. As we move into the Renaissance and the 17th and 18th centuries, society became more refined. The aristocracy in places like France set the trends for all of Europe. This is when dining truly became an art form. The fork was finally widely adopted, individual place settings became the norm, and meals became incredibly elaborate, multi-course affairs. The concept of etiquette exploded. It was no longer just about preventing fights. It was about showing off your sophistication, your class, and your good breeding. In this new world, reaching across the table was seen as crude and uncivilized. It implied you were impatient, greedy, and lacked self-control or qualities of the lower classes. A proper lady or gentleman would never lunge for food. Instead, you would politely ask a servant, or if you were at a more modest table, you'd ask your neighbor to pass the dish. This reinforced social hierarchies. The act of passing food became a delicate dance of courtesy and deference. It showed you were aware of others, respected their space, and were part of the polished, civilized world. Then, in the 19th century, another huge factor came into play: germ theory. Suddenly, people understood that invisible microbes could make them sick. Hygiene became a massive concern. Think about it, Tiff. You reach your arm across a table. Your sleeve, which has been honestware, could dangle into a shared dish. Your hand, which might not be perfectly clean, is hovering over everyone's food. It just became plain unsanitary. The etiquette rule that started for safety and social status now had a new, powerful justification: public health. Keeping your arms to yourself wasn't just polite, it was clean. So, the next time you're at the dinner table and you stop yourself from lunging for the gravy, remember you're not just being polite, you're participating in a tradition that's centuries-older tradition, born from avoiding sword fights, proving your social standing, and practicing good hygiene. It's a small action with a huge history. The polite thing to do: just ask, "Could you please pass the potatoes?" It's easier, safer, and a whole lot classier. Thanks for watching. If you found this little slice of history interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories behind our everyday habits. See you next time.